All right, so this is the last part here from chapters 9 and 21, and we're going to hit on the role of marketing research. I'll probably talk a little bit about this in class on Thursday as well, so I'll probably go through this quicker than I normally would. But marketing research is a lot like you'd imagine it to be. So when you have a research project in science, you have kind of a hypothesis and you're trying to work at trying to discover some kind of truth or some sort of result that you will learn from. And the same is true for marketing research. It can be performed in a lot of different ways, and we'll go through some of that. But I also want to make you aware that if you're interested in marketing, and you go a little further down the road here at Northwestern, we have a class in marketing research. I actually used to teach the class that did some research for the city of Orange City. It's pretty fascinating, the different ways you can collect information. And so if you're interested in psychology, you probably have done some of this kind of stuff already or have taken some classes in research. So just to kind of give you an idea that that's something that you could pursue down the road. So if you look at your slides, again, this would be slide 13 out of that series of chapter 9 and 21 from Blackboard. We kind of already talked about why it's important because it helps us understand more about our customers or about products and services or about things that are impacting the marketing mix. And so marketing research studies, if you look at number 14, slide 14, can be done for products, can be looked at the effectiveness of advertising, can look at the elasticity of pricing, which basically means how customers react to the raising and lowering of prices, what packages people find more attractive, what names and logos work, what kind of buying habits people have, what colors, how do people use this? They can watch people, they can put a product in front of them and see how do you use it, and they can learn from that. Traffic patterns, wants, needs, politics, it's about anything. So you can do research and there's different ways. Not all the time it's going to be a survey, but a survey is one that you can use. So why marketing research? Slide 15, improve decision making. Trace problems, focus on keeping customers and understanding changes in the marketplace, seeing, hey, this is what they did before, but this is not how they're making that decision now. I'm not going to ask you for the steps in the market research process. Again, you'll get that in an upper level marketing class. But basically, you identify a problem, you plan the design of the research, you get a sampling group, you collect the data, you analyze it, you prepare a presentation, and you follow up with the information. So again, this is just a real brief, we're touching on a subject here that is an entire semester-long course, and we're going to hit it in about 10-15 minutes. So I don't intend for this to be all-inclusive, but I just want you to introduce you to the concept that research is used to help marketers make decisions. And there's two types of data that can be collected. And I do want you to notice, and this would be a good test question, or what are the two, and I think I put it on the study guide as well, or what are the two types of data? There's secondary and primary data, and there's advantages and disadvantages to using each of these types of data. Really, secondary data is data that's already out there. Somebody's already done it, but you're going to go get that information. As you can imagine, some of the advantages of that is time. You don't have to actually do the research. It's already there for you. And along with time, then usually comes money. And so then, you can get sometimes some really good information cheaply and quickly. And then also, if you're going to do the primary research anyway, you have some information that you can kind of use as a baseline to look to see how the information matches up. Now, there's also some disadvantages. Part of the thing is if somebody else does it, how do you know that it was valid? There are ways that maybe you can look into that, but that's definitely one of the disadvantages. Another one is, somebody might have a question that's similar to yours, but not exactly the same. So many times the information that you can get from secondary data isn't quite as relevant, potentially. So secondary data is already data that's out there. Primary data is stuff that you're going to collect through your own research. Advantages of that, as you can imagine, you can vouch for its validity to make sure that it's accurate and it wasn't biased. Another advantage would be it could be very specific to what you're looking for. You can guide the research. And then the other one that secondary data is data that's out there. Sometimes a competitive advantage can be created because you get information that nobody else has, and you can use that. And so secrecy can be maintained as well. Some of the disadvantages, I said one of the advantages of secondary was it's cheap. Opposite for primary. It takes time, it takes money, it takes resources. So that can sometimes be a challenge. And it gives a couple other ones that particularly have to do with interviewing. Let's see here. Let's skip to number 25. So here are different ways that some survey research can be done. Surveys are I shouldn't say typically, they are probably the most common used of market research. So we'll look at a few of these. In-home interviews, mall intercept interviews. Somebody's trying to walk up to you and stop you in a mall or in a public place to try to ask you some questions. Telephone interviews, getting tougher and tougher to do with a lot of the rules out there about calling people. There are mail surveys. I just did one for bow hunting. They wanted to know what kind of animals you saw, what days, how long, what county you were in. You fill it out, you send it back in. Executive interviews or focus groups is where you get similar people together and you just ask them questions and try to drive information from that. And again, you'll see more of that information and learn how to do a focus group in market research and consumer behavior class. Some tips on designing a questionnaire. Make sure it's clear and concise. There's no ambiguous language. It's unbiased. It uses terminology that people know and understand. I'm not going to ask anything necessarily on the test on that, but it's just kind of good to know. Other than surveys, some other ways that information can be gleaned through market research is actually observational situation and observational studies. Sometimes they refer to that as ethnographic research, where you're just observing and watching what people do, how they do it, what they use, like I said, for products. Just really observing people and seeing that. The impact of the internet on marketing research has made surveys a lot easier. SurveyMonkey, we have Qualtrics here at Northwestern. There's some really powerful tools out there that help you cross-tabulate, that help you find out statistical significance. There's just some really good tools to help with that. And so therefore, the impacts of the internet, number 29, helps us make faster decisions. We can do follow-up studies. It slashes time and expenses. Those things are huge. Same thing there. It lists on number 30 for the same points there. Let's see here. 32, skip to slide 32, behavioral targeting. Match internet users with ads for products and services they're most likely to purchase. So we talked a little bit about that in our last video, just whether or not that's ethical. And I think generationally you'll see that people have different preferences for those sorts of things, but that's definitely grown in social media, and it's a way for them to do market research. What did people click on? Where do they look? What things attract them, what things don't. Scanner-based research and other research that's coming along, just to kind of give you some ideas of some of the types of things that they're doing, is they're starting to do even some market research on biology, like what do we do with our eyes. Okay, so if I look at an ad and I see an ad, where do my eyes go? And they track where my eyes go. They track how we respond to different things. They track where we move in stores. And so some of that information is crazy. It's wild. So if you're ever interested in looking at some of that stuff, the marketing research that can be done, even just if we watch a commercial, what does that do to certain chemicals in our body? And figuring out what things work and what things don't. That sounds kind of scary, and in some ways it is. that they would have that kind of information. So when you see an ad, they're kind of saying, hey, we know this chemical is going to get pumped into your body, based on whether it's fear, whether it's sex drive, whether it's hunger, whatever it is. They know at what level that potentially has an impact on us in our decision making. So there are some definite ethical implications there. But again, if you're really interested in this kind of stuff, I'd really encourage you to take marketing research and consumer behavior, because you'll see this in much more in depth than just this little brush by. So I hope that makes a little sense about marketing research, why this would be important, how this helps us kind of segment and target our customers better, and then also it may help us to find out from a positioning standpoint, from a perceptual mapping standpoint, where we would sit based on the research that you do with the customer.